Hey guys, welcome back to the game room. So you can see that I have the camera further back on a shelf so that I can show you more of the game room. So this video, I want to do 5 of my most favorite items in the game room, 5 of my most favorite toys, and 5 of my most favorite video games or consoles. Now, this isn't going to be a video on look at how rare or expensive these items are that I own. This is going to be stuff that is in my game room right now. I'm not counting anything that's in the basement or in the living room. This is something that's in the game room right now that for whatever reason at this point in time, I am absolutely in love with and I just love looking at or using and having in the game room. So we'll start off with my 5 favorite figures that I have in the game room. And of course, this is going to go without saying. If you want to do a video like this, just after you do it, put your link down in the comments because I would love to watch it and see what you have in your game room. So these are going to be in no particular order. It's not going to be number 1 is the best, number 5 is the worst. This is just 5 things of video games and my figures that I really enjoy having in the game room. So we'll start off with number 1. This is my knockoff, my KO Predaking, and look at the size of this guy. When I knew I wanted to talk about him again, I knew right away that I'd have to have a big, a much wider angle so that you could really take him in and see the size of this monster. Now, I ordered him off AliExpress. Obviously, he is not an official Hasbro toy, but he is an oversized knockoff Predaking, and he is gigantic. Look at this monster next to me. He is currently my biggest Transformer. He's bigger than Starscream Supreme, and I'm pretty sure that he's going to be taller than my Omega Supreme, and Omega Supreme will not be on this list just because I haven't got the chance to open him yet, so I haven't seen him and fallen in love with him yet, so he doesn't count. But Predaking, I don't know, he just looks fantastic. Ever since I was a child, I wanted a G1 Predaking. You know, that never happened, having the original run of Transformers Predaking. Even now, the price for him is, you know, I paid about $140 for this guy with shipping, and he stands proudly on a shelf all by himself. Number 4 is my signed copy of a Day of the Dead script. It was signed by George A. Romero. I got the chance to meet him at Montreal Comic-Con in 2014 or 2015, I believe. And it was before he was actually doing his autograph and I guess picture scheduled time. He was just sitting there having a coffee, and my sister and I walked up to him. We started, you know, shooting the shit. We got to talk to him for like a good 15 minutes before his handler actually chased us away because he told us it was Mr. Romero's smoke break time. But phenomenal man, you know, an amazing director, very creative, and again, it was just so nice to meet him. They always say don't meet your heroes, and definitely he is a director and movie creator hero of mine, but he was just the most sweetest guy. He answered all of our questions I'm sure he heard hundreds of times over, but you know, this is very special to me, and I'm gonna hang on to this. Number 3 on this list would be my Gears of War 2 Chainsaw Lancer. Now, this I picked up. This was one of my last eBay purchases when you could still get relatively cool items for not an arm and a leg on eBay. So mine, the chain, I'm not sure if the chain was ever supposed to rotate or gyrate because there is a slot in here. But you still have that nice chainsaw noise. If you look over here, you have the, it's a little stuck, but it does move where you could rev up your chainsaw. The only, I guess, complaint I would have about this is when I got it, it was missing the battery case. But like I said, I am a huge Gears of War fan. This is something that I love having in my collection. It's hard to display. I'm always looking for a good place on the wall for it. And this is an item that my brother-in-law is also a huge Gears of War 2 fan. And he's constantly messaging me that he wants to buy this, he wants to pick it up, let him have it to do some cosplay for Halloween. And you know, it's not about the money that's being thrown at me. This is just something that I love having in the collection. And at the time, I think I got this for about 90 bucks on eBay. And I want to say about 5 or 6 years ago. Arkham is afraid of the chainsaw, so we're not going to rev it anymore. Next up is my Star Wars AT-AT Walker, and this is the original one that I played with as a kid. I recently got this from my cousin Dio, and he was finally getting rid of all his Star Wars toys. You can see he's still a little dusty and sun-faded because he wound up being in his garage for, I want to say, a couple of decades, but these were the Star Wars toys. When I used to go to my cousin's house, we would play with these in the sand, in the water, in the dirt. So even though he's pretty much a shell now, missing the door, missing the top, missing his cannons on the front, this is a toy from my childhood that I didn't think I'd see again. I was pretty shocked when he called me over for it, and then the price that he sold everything to me for that's a little tongue-tied. I'm so impressed, but this is something that proudly sits on a shelf in my game room. You know, it doesn't have a huge monetary value, but you know, for me, it's always gonna have a special place in my heart because I can vividly remember having our big Star Wars battles in the early 80s in the sandpit in my cousin's backyard. So, AT-AT Walker. And last thing that I'll share for my toys and collectibles is my Castle Grayskull. Now this I just picked up last summer, and this is something that I didn't have as a child. I think I had the Stake Mountain. I know I had a lot of the Hordak playsets, but I never had Castle Grayskull as a child. And even his hinges are broken, he's empty, he's only got one sticker, but this is something that I was so happy to find. I think I paid 25 bucks for him at the flea market, and it's a prized possession. It sits on the shelf, and this I look back at, you know, fondly, and it just reminds me of a simpler time because, you know, He-Man was one of my favorite toys of the 80s, and this is just, it feels like the one that got away and it came full circle, and I finally have it in the game room. A definite honorable mention is my 1979 Boba Fett from the Star Wars, the original Star Wars trilogy toys. And this is just something that I really love having in the collection. And he was tough not to add to the top 5. And I have some of the other vintage ones, and I really enjoy collecting all the newer ones. But there's just something about Boba Fett that I had to add him. I had to show him. First thing for the video game items that I'd like to show you is the chainsaw controller for Resident Evil 4. So this is the Gamecube controller, and I picked this up at a show maybe 10 years ago, and I picked it up for $20. And this sits proudly on my display shelf of all my video game items. I've never actually taken it out to play just because I wanted to leave it in the box. There's something about the way it looks, this box with the glass windows. You got your picture of Leon on it, and then I like that they have this trap door up there so that you could actually look at the controller itself. And it's just one of those things, like, it's gone up in value, but that's not the reason why I love it. It's just something cool, and it sits next to my Lancer. The next part of my gaming collection, just something that I really love having in the game room, is my Pikachu N64 and controller. Now this is, again, it's something that I picked up on eBay years ago. I remember being in what at the time I thought was a huge bidding war, but I actually got this for about 65 bucks. And you know, it's just beautiful coloring. Like, I'm not the world's biggest Nintendo 64 fan, but at the same time, I love the variants, and I have a lot of the colors, like the smoke gray, the jungle green, the atomic orange, whatever the colors are, and this is definitely my favorite. And I have a lot of boxed consoles, like a boxed TurboGrafx 16, Atari 5200, Nintendo, Super Nintendo, Genesis, N64. Like, I've got a lot of boxed consoles, and I debated if I wanted to put those in there, but this, I don't know, it stands apart, and it's just a really great looking console. The next thing that I want to share with you guys is my replica Master Sword from The Legend of Zelda. I picked this up from a flea market, I want to say 8-9 years ago, and it was at the end of the season. It was, I want to say maybe even, if not late October, early November. I'm pretty sure it was after Halloween. Like, this was the end of the flea market season, and the guy had a bunch of replicas. I remember seeing the key sword. There was those knockoff Wolverine claws that you see all the time, and I saw this Master Sword, and I remember he was asking $100 for it. So I was looking at him like, yeah, it's kind of nice, but I guess he was just looking for a sale, so I wound up buying this for $50. So now there's no edge to it to make it nice and safe, but this is definitely one of my favorite things that is in the game room. Another gaming item that I really love having in the game room is like whenever people come in, they're like, what the heck is that? And this is the Super Controller, and it was officially licensed by Nintendo, but it was made by Bandai. So what you do is you insert your controller into this case, and then it would give you a joystick application. It would go over your D-pad, and you'd be able to use it as a joystick. Now, I picked this up for like $2 at the flea market about, I don't know, 3 or 4 years ago. This was more of a recent purchase, and at the time I planned on opening it up, and it's still hard not to, but I just love how clean and almost brand new it looks. But this is all the way back from 1986, and when I looked at the value, not that it matters, but when I looked at the value on eBay and I saw how much this thing was actually going for, I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna hold off and leave it in its packaging. But definitely something that I don't see every day, and hopefully you find it pretty cool too. Now again, these aren't my most expensive or rarest items, and you know, what you like having and what's really floating your boat at that year or that decade, or just when you get tired of using something, it always changes. But right now, I have to put as my last thing that I want to share with you guys is my Raspberry Pi and my Pandora box setup. So now I have my PS4 set up in here, my Xbox One is in the living room, and on this little flat screen I have, just to give it like an arcadey feel, I'm just really loving having this Pandora box and my Raspberry Pi set up right now. This is my little gaming arcade station, and I have virtually every game up until, what, PlayStation 2 between these two systems. So right now this is just, I come in here like, the only thing that I'd say that I don't like is for the arcade games, you can't pause them, but this is like my go-to spot right now. I'm on a real retro kick, and I'm just really loving playing everything on the Pandora box and Raspberry Pi. So those are 5 video games related items and 5 toy figure items that are in my game room now that just for whatever reason I have a real affinity for. I'm really in love with them. I love showing them off. Those are some of my favorite items in the game room. So again, it's not the most expensive stuff or the most rare stuff that I'm showing. We could do that in another video if you were interested, but this is just showing you things that, you know this is my game room because these are the items that I really, really love. So I hope you enjoyed this video, guys. Feel free to share this video, and if you want to do a similar video or something in the same vein as this, I'd really love to watch it. Let me know down in the comments if you've done something like this already, or if you plan to do it in the future, just drop that link down in the comments. I would love to watch it. So thanks a lot for stopping by, guys. I really appreciate it. Keep those hands clean, stay safe, and I'll see you in a couple of days. I'm out of here.